The stars shone bright against the black emptiness of space. The Meridian ship called Harmony Seeker floated among them. It was a beautiful ship that looked like a sea creature from Earth. Its sides glowed with soft blue and green lights that pulsed gently. Inside the ship, Ambassador Lin stood on the bridge. Her skin glowed with patterns of light that showed she was worried. The 12 other Meridians on the bridge were also showing worried patterns with their skin lights. "They have not answered our fourth message," said First Officer Trell. His skin flickered with yellow dots of fear. Lin nodded. "Send it again. Make sure they know we come in peace." The Meridians had only been traveling between stars for 20 years. Their home world was a water planet with 2 small moons. They were a peaceful people who wanted to meet other life in the universe and share knowledge. But the ships that surrounded them now did not seem peaceful. "Ambassador, they are responding," said the communication officer. On the main screen, a face appeared. It was not like any face the Meridians had seen before. It had scales instead of skin. Its eyes were yellow with black slits down the middle. Sharp teeth showed when it opened its mouth to speak. "I am High Hunter Vexcar of the Krell Dominion," the creature said. Its voice was deep and rough. "Your ship has entered our hunting grounds." Lin stepped forward, her skin pulsing with calm, blue lights to show respect. "I am Ambassador Lin of the Meridian Collective. We did not know this area belonged to anyone. We come in peace and friendship." The Krell made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Peace? Friendship? These are words of prey, not hunters." Lin felt a chill. The translator must be wrong. "I don't understand. We wish to talk and learn about your people." "And so you shall," said Vexcar. "The Krell have a tradition when we meet new species. We call it the Great Hunt. Your ship and crew will have one of your hours to prepare. Then, we will begin. If even one of your kind survives the hunt, we will consider your species worthy of respect." The screen went dark. "What does this mean?" asked Trell, his skin now flashing with red panic lights. Lin had studied enough history to understand. "It means they see us as animals to be hunted." "But why? We've done nothing to them." "They don't need a reason," said Lin. "Some predators hunt simply because it is their nature." The sensors officer called out, "Ambassador, the 12 ships are moving into a circle around us. They're cutting off all escape routes." Lin knew the Harmony Seeker had no weapons. It was built for science and diplomacy, not war. Their shields could block space dust and radiation, but not weapons. "Send distress calls on all frequencies," Lin ordered, "and prepare the escape pods, though I doubt they will let them get far." Far away, at the edge of charted space, a small human ship moved through the darkness. It was called the Firefly, though it looked nothing like the tiny Earth insect. It was small for a spaceship, built for speed and stealth more than comfort. Captain Eric Mason sat in the command chair, his eyes half closed as he listened to music from Earth. He was a man of medium height with short brown hair and a scar that ran from his right ear to his chin. He had earned that scar in the Proxima Centauri conflict, when a piece of shrapnel from an exploding ship had nearly taken his head off. "Captain," said the ship's computer in its calm female voice. "I'm detecting a distress signal." Mason opened his eyes. "Source? Unknown. The language is not in my database, but it's using the universal distress frequency." That was interesting. The universal distress frequency was part of the Galactic Accord, which only a handful of species had signed. A new player, perhaps? "How far?" 2 light hours at maximum speed." Mason thought for a moment. His orders were to patrol this sector and report anything unusual, not to engage. But a distress call couldn't be ignored. "Set course," he said, "and keep us in stealth mode." The Firefly turned and accelerated, its engines pushing it faster than light in a way that still seemed magical, even after humans had been using the technology for 50 years. 2 hours later, the Firefly dropped out of faster-than-light travel, at the edge of a star system with a yellow sun. The computer immediately highlighted a cluster of ships in the distance. "Magnify," ordered Mason. The screen zoomed in to show a standoff in space. 12 dark curved ships that looked like claws or talons had surrounded a single ship that glowed with blue-green light. Analysis? The surrounded ship matches no known design. Energy readings suggest advanced technology but minimal weapons. The 12 surrounding ships are Krell Hunter-class vessels. Mason frowned. The Krell. He had heard of them but never encountered them. They were said to be one of the oldest spacefaring races and one of the most dangerous. They saw the universe as a hunting ground and themselves as the ultimate predators. "They're broadcasting something," said the computer. "Playing now." A gravelly voice filled the bridge. "Begin the hunt. Your hour of preparation is over. Know that your deaths will serve a higher purpose. Those who die well will be remembered in the songs of the hunt." Then another voice, softer and musical. "Please, we mean no harm to anyone. We are peaceful explorers." "Prey always pleads," said the first voice with what sounded like amusement. "It is the way of things." Mason had heard enough. The Firefly wasn't a warship. It carried only light, defensive weapons, and was designed to run and hide, not fight. But he couldn't just watch a slaughter. "Get me everything we have on Krell hunting tactics," he told the computer, "and prepare to break stealth. We're going to even these odds a bit." As the Krell ships began to close in on their prey, sensors on the lead ship detected a small energy spike from the edge of the system. High Hunter Vexcar dismissed it as unimportant, a passing drone perhaps, or a sensor glitch. Nothing could interfere with the sacred hunt now. He was wrong. Captain Eric Mason of the United Earth Fleet was about to change everything. And his method, as always, would involve setting things on fire. Captain Eric Mason studied the Krell ships on his screen. They were arranged in a perfect circle around the glowing alien vessel. Each Krell ship looked like a curved talon or claw. They were black, with red lights that pulsed along their sides. "Computer, what weapons do Krell Hunter ships carry?" Mason asked. "Krell Hunter-class vessels typically carry plasma cannons, energy nets, and boarding pods for capture missions," the computer replied. "Their shields are strong against direct attacks, but have been known to fail when facing unusual energy patterns." Mason nodded. His small ship couldn't win in a direct fight against one Krell ship, let alone 12. But he wasn't planning to fight fair. "Open a channel to Earth Command," he said. A few seconds later, the stern face of Admiral Peterson appeared on screen. "Mason, you're supposed to be patrolling the outer boundary. Why have you changed course?" "I've encountered a situation, sir. The Krell are about to attack an unknown alien species. The aliens appear peaceful and have no significant weapons." The Admiral frowned. "The Krell. Nasty business. But you know the rules, Mason. We don't interfere in conflicts between non-human species unless Earth interests are directly threatened. With respect, sir, we can't just watch a slaughter. Those are your orders, Captain. Observe and report. Do not engage." Mason looked at the screen where the Krell ships were moving closer to their prey. He made his decision. "I'm sorry, sir. You're breaking up. Must be solar interference." He made a chopping motion across his throat, and the computer cut the connection. "That was unwise, Captain," said the computer. "Probably," Mason agreed. "But I've never been good at watching innocent people die. Let's see what we can do to even the odds." He typed rapidly on his console, programming a series of maneuvers. The Firefly had one advantage: it was small and fast, and Mason had learned a few tricks during the Proxima Centauri conflict. "Computer, prepare to drop stealth. Arm sensor disruptors and plasma vents. And give me manual control." "Acknowledged. But I must point out that these actions violate at least 7 regulations." Mason smiled grimly. "Add them to my file. Now let's go hunting." On the Harmony Seeker, Ambassador Lin watched in horror as the Krell ships began to close in. Their communication officer had been broadcasting surrender and pleas for mercy on all frequencies, but the Krell had stopped responding. "They're powering weapons," said Trell, his skin flashing with panic lights. Lin closed her eyes. Her people had never faced this kind of violence. They had no concept for it in their culture. "Is there nothing we can do?" Suddenly, the sensor officer called out, "Ambassador, another ship has appeared." Lin opened her eyes. On the main screen, a small ship had appeared at the edge of the Krell formation. It was tiny compared to the hunter ships, shaped like a dart, with wings swept back. "Who is it?" she asked. "Unknown. It's not answering hails, but it's moving very fast toward the Krell." High Hunter Vexikar was about to give the order to fire when an alert sounded on his bridge. "High Hunter, an unidentified vessel has entered the hunting circle," said his second-in-command. Vexikar growled, "Show me." The screen displayed a small ship moving at high speed toward them. It was unlike any design he had seen before. "Scan." He ordered. "Minimal weapons. No significant shielding. One life form aboard. Species unknown." Vexikar's mouth formed what passed for a smile among his kind. "It seems we have a volunteer joining our hunt. Interesting. Target it first. It may provide sport before we take the main prey." 3 Krell ships broke formation to intercept the newcomer. They fired warning shots, plasma bolts that lit up space with bright green flashes. Mason saw the shots coming and rolled the Firefly into a tight spiral. The small ship danced between the plasma bolts with ease. "Let's show them something new," he said. He activated the first part of his plan. The Firefly released a dozen small probes that shot off in different directions. Each one began broadcasting a powerful signal that scrambled sensors. On the Krell ships, alarms sounded as their hunting sensors went blind. Static filled their screens. The perfect formation began to break as ships tried to reorient themselves. "What is happening?" demanded Vexikar. "Sensor interference, High Hunter. We cannot get clear readings. Switch to visual tracking." But Mason was already moving to Phase 2. The Firefly had special vents designed to release superheated plasma from its engines in controlled bursts. This plasma was usually vented during maintenance, but Mason had found another use for it during the war. He hit the release controls while accelerating the ship in a tight loop through the center of the Krell formation. Behind the Firefly, a trail of blindingly hot plasma formed a wall of fire in space. The plasma wasn't hot enough to damage the Krell ship seriously, but it played havoc with their sensors, and the sudden bursts of radiation temporarily overloaded their shields. 2 Krell ships, trying to follow the Firefly visually, crashed into each other when the plasma wall blinded their pilots. Mason completed his loop and headed straight for the Meridian vessel. He opened a communication channel. "Unknown. Alien vessel. This is Captain Eric Mason of the United Earth Fleet. I'm going to try to create an opening for you to escape. Be ready to move when I give the signal." On the Harmony Seeker, Ambassador Lin and her crew watched in amazement as the tiny ship created chaos among the Krell hunters. "It's helping us," said Trell, his skin now pulsing with hopeful blue lights. "Respond to the message," ordered Lin. "Tell this Captain Mason that we are grateful, but our ship is slow. We cannot outrun the Krell." The message was sent, but before Mason could respond, 3 Krell ships broke through the confusion. They fired energy nets, webs of crackling power designed to entangle ships and disable their engines. Mason rolled the Firefly again, but one of the nets caught the edge of his left wing. The ship shuddered as electricity coursed through its systems. "Warning, engine power dropping, shields failing," announced the computer. Mason fought the controls as the Firefly spun. Through the view screen, he could see the Meridian ship glowing softly against the blackness of space. Beyond it, more Krell ships were regrouping. His plan wasn't working. The Krell were too many, and his tricks had only bought a few minutes of confusion. But maybe that was enough for one more desperate move. "Computer, set course directly for the lead Krell ship. Maximum speed." "That course will result in a collision, Captain." "That's the idea, but we'll vent all remaining plasma just before impact. It might be enough to overload their shields completely." The computer was silent for a moment. "Understood, Captain. It has been an honor serving with you." Mason smiled. "Let's not write our goodbyes yet. I've still got one more trick up my sleeve." The Firefly's engines flared bright as it shot toward the largest Krell ship, High Hunter Vexikar's command vessel. The Firefly shot towards Vexikar's command ship like a bullet. Inside, Mason's hands flew over the controls. He wasn't actually planning to crash into the Krell ship. That would be suicide, and Mason wasn't ready to die just yet. Computer, prepare to vent all remaining plasma on my mark, he said. And ready the emergency jump system. The emergency jump system was a last resort device. It could make one very short, faster-than-light jump without the usual careful calculations. It was dangerous and not very accurate, but it might be their only chance to escape. As the Firefly raced toward the command ship, Mason watched the distance counter drop rapidly. The Krell vessel grew larger on his view screen, its black surface now filling his view. They're powering weapons, warned the computer. Not yet, said Mason, his eyes fixed on the distance counter. Not yet. At the last possible moment he shouted, "Now, vent all plasma and execute jump." The Firefly released all its remaining plasma in one massive burst directly in front of the Krell command ship. At the same instant, the emergency jump engines fired. The little ship vanished in a flash of light just as the plasma hit the Krell vessel. The plasma explosion was much bigger than any of the previous bursts. It engulfed the command ship completely, overloading its shields and frying its sensor arrays. The blinding flash temporarily disabled the visual systems of all nearby Krell ships. High Hunter Vexcar roared in anger as his bridge filled with smoke and warning alarms. "Where is that ship? Find it!" "Sensors are down, High Hunter," reported a Krell officer. "We're blind. Use the backup systems. They're coming online now, but there's too much interference from the plasma." Suddenly a new alarm sounded. "High Hunter, the prey ship is moving." On the Harmony Seeker, Ambassador Lin had watched in horror as the small human ship seemed to be on a suicide run. But then came the flash of light, the plasma explosion, and the Firefly disappeared. "What happened?" she asked. "Did it destroy itself?" "I don't think so," said Trell, studying the sensor readings. "It seems to have jumped away. And look, the Krell formation is broken." Indeed, the perfect circle of Hunter ships was now in chaos. Several ships were moving randomly, trying to restore their damaged systems. Others were clustering around the command ship to provide protection. "This may be our only chance," said Lin. "Power up engines. Move us away from here, maximum speed." The Harmony Seeker's engines glowed brighter as the ship began to move slowly away from the Krell. Meanwhile, the Firefly reappeared a short distance away. The emergency jump had worked, but the ship was in bad shape. Red warning lights flashed across all control panels and smoke filled the bridge. "Damage report," Mason coughed. "Engine power at 30%, shields offline, weapons offline. Life support stable but damaged," replied the computer. "The emergency jump system is burned out." Mason checked his sensors. They were still working. Barely. He could see the Meridian ship moving slowly away from the confusion he had created. But it was moving too slowly. The Krell would recover soon, and their hunt would continue. He needed to do more. But what? The Firefly was barely functioning, and he had used up all his tricks. Then his eyes fell on a small red button on his control panel. It was labeled Emergency Beacon. Every Earth fleet ship carried a powerful distress beacon. When activated, it sent a signal that could be detected by any human ship within several light hours. It also released a cloud of special particles that disrupted faster-than-light travel, forcing any passing ships to drop back to normal space. It was only to be used in the most dire emergencies, as it could disrupt shipping lanes and cause accidents. Using it without true need meant court-martial. Mason didn't hesitate. He pressed the button. The Firefly shuddered as the beacon launched from its underside. It sped away for a few seconds, then exploded in a flash of blue light. A wave of energy spread outward in all directions. Across his sensor screen, Mason saw the energy wave hit the scattered Krell ships. Their engines flickered as the wave disrupted their power systems temporarily. "Computer, hail the alien ship," Mason ordered. On the Harmony Seeker, Trell reported, "Ambassador, the human ship is hailing us again." "Put it through," said Lin. Mason's face appeared on their screen. He looked rougher than before, with a cut on his forehead and smoke behind him. "Meridian vessel, my name is Captain Eric Mason. I've bought you some time, but my ship is damaged. I need to dock with yours." Lin's skin pulsed with concerned lights. "Captain Mason, we are grateful for your help, but the Krell will recover soon. If you join us, They will hunt you too. Mason smiled. They're already hunting me. Besides, I have a plan, but I need to come aboard your ship to make it work. Lynn hesitated only a moment before nodding. We will open our docking bay, but please hurry. As the Harmony Seeker continued its slow retreat, the Firefly limped toward it. Behind them, the Krell ships were beginning to recover and regroup. Inside the command ship, High Hunter Vexcar had regained control of his bridge. The smoke had cleared and most systems were back online. Status of the prey? He demanded. Both ships are moving away, High Hunter. The small one appears damaged. The larger one is slow. Good. They will not escape. Organize the pack. We will. Continue the hunt. Vexcar paused, then added, and I want the pilot of that small ship captured alive. Any hunter who kills him will face my personal displeasure. He has earned the right to be hunted properly with respect. As the Krell ships formed a new hunting formation, the Firefly docked with the Harmony Seeker. The airlock opened, and Mason stepped onto the alien ship for the first time. He was met by a group of tall, slender beings with blue skin that glowed with patterns of light. One stepped forward. I am Ambassador Lin. Welcome aboard the Harmony Seeker, Captain Mason. Mason nodded respectfully. Thank you for letting me dock. My ship won't fly much longer anyway. Why did you help us? Asked Lin. Your ship is too small to fight the Krell. You must have known that. Mason smiled grimly. Where I come from, we have a saying. The size of the dog in the fight doesn't matter. It's the size of the fight in the dog. Lin's skin showed confusion patterns. I do not understand this saying. It means sometimes being small and determined is better than being big and complacent. Now, let me tell you my plan. We don't have much time. Mason gestured toward a nearby screen showing the approaching Krell ships. The beacon I launched will bring help, but it might take hours. We need to survive until then. How? Our ship has no weapons, and yours is damaged. Mason's eyes gleamed. We don't need weapons, we need fire. Ambassador Lin led Mason to the bridge of the Harmony Seeker. The other Meridians watched the human with curious light patterns pulsing across their skin. This is our control center, Lin explained. What is this fire you mentioned? Mason looked around the bridge. It was very different from human ships. Instead of hard metal and plastic, everything seemed to be made of a smooth, living material that glowed softly. First, tell me about your ship, he said. What kind of engines do you use? Do you have any defense systems at all? Trell stepped forward. Our ship uses lightfold drives for faster-than-light travel. For normal space, we use gravity wave engines. Weapons? Asked Mason. Lin's skin flickered with patterns that suggested embarrassment. We have none. Our people do not believe in violence. Mason nodded. What about your ship's skin, the outer hull? That glow it gives off, is it just for show? No, said Lin. It is how we communicate with other ships. The patterns can express complex ideas. It also helps protect us from solar radiation by absorbing and dispersing energy. Mason's eyes lit up. Absorbing and dispersing energy? How exactly does that work? A Meridian in science officer clothing stepped forward. Our hull contains special cells similar to those in our skin. They can absorb energy, store it briefly, and then release it in specific patterns. Can these cells absorb any kind of energy? What about weapons fire? The science officer's skin pulsed with thoughtful patterns. In theory, yes, but not at the levels of weapons. It would overload the cells. Mason smiled. Unless you had somewhere to dump that energy quickly. He turned to Lin. Ambassador, I think I know how we can survive until help arrives, but it's going to require some creative thinking. Mason explained his plan quickly as the Meridians gathered around him. At first, their skin showed patterns of disbelief and worry, but as he continued, the patterns changed to interest and hope. It could work, said the science officer finally, but we would need to modify our hull controls to release energy in concentrated bursts, rather than dispersed patterns. Can you do it? Asked Mason. Yes, but it will take time. Mason looked at the sensor screen showing the approaching Krell ships. We have maybe 30 minutes before they're within firing range. Will that be enough? The science officer nodded. If everyone helps, yes. Then let's get to work, said Mason. While the Meridians worked on modifying their ship's systems, Mason returned to the Firefly. His ship was barely functioning, but he still had access to its computer. Computer, did the emergency beacon deploy successfully? Yes, Captain. Signal strength at maximum. Any Earth fleet vessel within 3 light hours will detect it. Any response yet? Negative, Captain. No response detected. Mason sighed. It could be hours before help arrived, if it came at all. They needed to survive on their own. He downloaded all the data the Firefly had gathered on the Krell ships to a small device, then returned to the Harmony Seeker. On the bridge, the Meridians were working quickly, their hands moving over control panels as their skin flashed with concentrated light patterns. How's it going? Mason asked Lynn. We are nearly ready, she replied. But I must ask, are you certain this will work? We have never used our ship in this way before. Mason smiled grimly. Honestly? No, I'm not certain. But it's the best chance we have. The science officer approached them. The modifications are complete. We can now direct the energy absorption and release as you suggested. Good, said Mason. Now we need to practice the timing. For the next 15 minutes, the Meridians practiced the new technique. Their ship's glowing hull would dim in one section, absorbing energy, then flare brightly as it released that energy in a concentrated burst. Meanwhile, the Krell ships drew closer. On the command ship, High Hunter Vexcar watched the prey with growing interest. His sensors showed unusual energy patterns coming from the alien vessel. What are they doing? He asked his science officer. Unknown, High Hunter. Their hull seems to be absorbing and releasing energy in strange patterns. It could be a communication attempt or perhaps a malfunction. Vexcar's mouth formed into what passed for a smile among his kind, or a desperate defense. This hunt becomes more interesting by the moment. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare to fire warning shots. Let us see how they respond. The lead Krell ship fired 3 plasma bolts that passed close to the Harmony Seeker but did not hit it. Inside the Meridian ship, Mason watched the sensor readings. They're testing us, he said. Get ready. The real attack is coming. We are ready, said Lynn, though her skin showed fear patterns. Remember the plan, said Mason. Let them hit sections 1 and 3 first. Absorb that energy, then redirect it at the ship that comes in from Sector 2. Timing is everything. The Meridians nodded, their hands poised over the controls. The Krell attack came suddenly. 3 ships fired at once, their plasma bolts streaking toward the Harmony Seeker from different directions. Now, shouted Mason. The Meridian ship's hull dimmed where the first 2 plasma bolts hit. The energy was absorbed, causing the ship to shudder, but not break. Then, as the 3rd Krell ship moved into position, the hull flared blindingly bright. A burst of concentrated energy shot out, hitting the Krell ship directly. The Hunter ship's shields flared and failed. Its hull cracked in several places, and it spun away, damaged. A cheer went up from the Meridians. Their skin flashed with excited patterns. It worked, said Trell. Don't celebrate yet, warned Mason. They'll adapt quickly. We need to keep moving and vary our tactics. Indeed, the Krell ships were already changing their approach. Instead of attacking from different sides, they clustered together, preparing for a coordinated assault. They're going to hit us with everything at once, said Mason. We won't be able to absorb that much energy. Lynn looked at him. What do we do? Mason thought quickly. We need to change tactics too. Your ship's hull can create patterns, right? Can you make it look like we're heavily damaged in one section but actually strengthen that area? The science officer nodded. Yes, we can create false visual signals. Do it, said Mason. Make it look like our lower hull is breaking apart. Meanwhile, prepare to absorb energy at the upper hull and redirect it at their command ship. As the Krell prepared to attack, the Harmony Seeker's lower hull began to show patterns that looked like cracks and failures. Light leaked out in ways that suggested severe damage. Watching from his command ship, Vexcar saw the apparent weakness. "Target the lower hull," he ordered. "All ships, concentrate fire." The Krell ships fired together, but most of their weapons hit the upper hull instead of the seemingly damaged lower section. The Harmony Seeker absorbed the energy, shuddering under the impact, then released it in one massive burst directed at Vexcar's command ship. The burst hit directly, overwhelming the command ship's shields and damaging its main weapons array. Vexcar roared in anger and pain as his bridge filled with smoke and alarms. "How are they doing this? No prey has ever fought back this way before." His weapons officer, bleeding from a head wound, replied, "It must be the human, High Hunter. This is not normal behavior for herd species." Vexcar's eyes narrowed. "The human. Yes, this has become more than a hunt. This is now a matter of honor." The Harmony Seeker shook as another volley of Krell weapons fire hit its hull. The Meridians were getting tired. They had been absorbing and redirecting energy for nearly an hour, but they couldn't keep it up forever. Mason watched the sensor, screen with growing worry. The Krell had adapted to their tactics and were now firing from multiple angles in small, quick bursts. It was harder to absorb and redirect such scattered fire. "How much longer can your people keep this up?" he asked Lin. The ambassador's skin was pulsing with dim, tired patterns. "Not long. The energy absorption cells are nearing their limits. If they take too much more, they will burn out completely." Mason checked the emergency beacon signal. Still no response from any Earth ships. He had hoped help would arrive by now, but they were on their own. "We need a new plan," he said. Just then, Trell called out, "Ambassador, the Krell are sending a message." On the main screen, High Hunter Vexcar's face appeared. His scales were darkened in places, and a cut above one eye leaked dark fluid, but his yellow eyes burned with intensity. "You have fought well," he said. "No prey has damaged a Krell hunting pack in living memory. We offer you terms." Lin stepped forward. "What terms?" "Send us the human, he alone. Do this and your ship may leave our territory unharmed. This is a great honor we offer you." Mason wasn't surprised. The Krell were hunters, and he had made himself the most interesting prey. Lin's skin flashed with angry patterns. "We will not betray someone who risked his life to help us." Vexacar's mouth formed a cruel smile. "Then you will all die together. You have 10 minutes to decide." The screen went dark. "He's lying," said Mason. "They won't let you go even if you hand me over." "It doesn't matter," said Lin firmly. "We would never give you to them." Mason looked around the bridge. The Meridians were tired but determined. They had shown more courage than he had expected from a peaceful species, but courage wasn't enough against the Krell. Then an idea came to him. A desperate, crazy idea. "Ambassador, you said your hull cells absorb energy and then release it, right? What if we absorbed energy but didn't release it right away? Could we store it?" The science officer answered, "Yes, but not for long. The cells would overheat and burn out." "That's exactly what I'm counting on," said Mason. "I need to get back to my ship. There's equipment there I can use." 5 minutes later, Mason returned with several devices from the Firefly. Working quickly with the Meridian science team, he connected them to the ship's hull control systems. "Here's the plan," he explained to Lin. "When the Krell attack next, we'll absorb as much energy as possible into one section of the hull. We won't redirect it. Instead, we'll let the cells overload and burn out." "But that would damage our ship severely," protested Trell. "Yes," agreed Mason. "But it will look like you're completely defenseless. The Krell will move in close for the final kill. That's when we release all the stored energy at once, along with an electromagnetic pulse from my ship's emergency systems." The science officer's skin flashed with understanding. The combined energy release would be enormous. It could disable all nearby Krell ships temporarily. "Exactly," said Mason. "Long enough for us to escape the hunting formation." Lin considered the plan. "It's risky. We would lose a significant portion of our hull." "It's that or face the Krell at full strength," said Mason. "And we're running out of time." After a moment, Lin nodded. "We will try your plan, Captain Mason." When the 10 minutes were up, Vexcar's face appeared on screen again. What is your decision? Lin stepped forward. We will not surrender anyone. Vexcar snarled, showing sharp teeth. Then the hunt ends now. All ships attack. The Krell ships opened fire from all directions. This time, the Harmony Seeker absorbed the energy into a single section of its hull. That section began to glow brighter and brighter, changing from blue to white. Hull temperature rising rapidly, reported the science officer. Cells are at 150% capacity, 180%, 200%. Mason watched the sensor screen. The Krell ships, seeing one section of the hull glowing dangerously bright, had stopped firing at that area, but they continued to attack the rest of the ship. Hull cells at maximum capacity, called the science officer. They're beginning to fail. The glowing section of hull suddenly went dark. It looked like a dead spot on the otherwise luminous ship. His command ship Vexcar saw the hull failure and gave the order. Move in for the kill. Boarding parties ready. The Krell ships closed in around the Harmony Seeker, preparing to launch boarding pods. Now, shouted Mason. The Meridians activated the overloaded hull cells one last time. All the stored energy, combined with the electromagnetic pulse from Mason's devices, released in a massive burst that expanded outward in all directions. The wave hit the Krell ships, overwhelming their shields and short-circuiting their electrical systems. The hunter ships went dark, drifting powerless in space. It worked, exclaimed Trell. Don't celebrate yet, said Mason. That pulse affected our engines too. Get them back online and get us out of here before the Krell recover. The Meridians worked frantically to restart their engines. Slowly, the Harmony Seeker began to move away from the disabled Krell fleet. On the command ship, emergency systems were gradually coming back online. Vexcar, illuminated only by emergency lighting, watched with fury as his prey escaped. Get power back, he roared. All ships pursue as soon as possible. But before the Krell could recover fully, the sensors picked up new signals. Several large ships had appeared at the edge of the system. Human ships. Mason's emergency beacon had finally brought help. Captain, look, said Lin, pointing to the sensor screen. 3 Earth Fleet cruisers had arrived, their weapons ready. Mason smiled with relief. Those are Earth ships. We're safe now. A voice came over the communication system. This is Captain Olivia Carter of the Earth Fleet cruiser Valiant. We received your emergency beacon, Captain Mason. Quite a mess you've made. Here. Good to hear your voice, Captain Carter, replied Mason. I've made some new friends and quite a few enemies. Think you can help us out? Already on it. The Krell know better than to fight Earth Fleet ships. They're pulling back now. Indeed, the Krell ships, having restored minimal power, were moving. Away from the Earth cruisers. Ambassador Lin turned to Mason, her skin glowing with gratitude patterns. You saved our ship and our lives, Captain Mason. The Meridian people will never forget this. Mason smiled tiredly. Just doing what anyone would do. No, said Lin seriously. Not anyone. You risked everything for strangers. That is rare in this universe. Later, as the Earth Fleet cruisers escorted the damaged Harmony Seeker to safety, Mason stood on the bridge with Lin, watching the stars. What will happen to the Krell? Asked Lin. They'll go back to their hunting grounds, said Mason. But I think they'll remember this day, the day Prey fought back. And what about you? Will you be in trouble for disobeying orders? Mason shrugged. Probably, but it was worth it. He looked around at the Meridian crew, their skin now glowing with calm, happy patterns. Definitely worth it. As the ships traveled together through space, the story of how one small human ship had faced down a Krell hunting fleet to save aliens they had never met before began to spread. It would be told and retold across many worlds. And on Krell hunting ships, a new rule was added to their ancient code. Beware the humans. They don't run from predators. They burn everything down.